students, the previous class we discussed about the formation of Muslim League. And so far we have finished 14 chapters and 5 chapters from civics, 6 chapters from modern Indian history and 3 chapters from contemporary world history. And now I just want to inform you about the syllabus that you have to follow. You may please take page number 4, the Roman letter 4, and there your syllabus is given in your textbook. You may please take page number 4, Roman letters, and there your syllabus is given. And you may please go through the syllabus given in your textbook. And there, the entire syllabus for your 10th standard, it is given there. And you can follow that syllabus. And when you go through the chapters, then you may find that there are certain extra information given out of this syllabus. So that you can read, and that is for your understanding. But you may be please thorough with the syllabus given in your textbook, and you have to study. For example, in the last class we discussed about the formation of Muslim League. From that chapter you have to study very well about the factors leading to formation of Muslim League and its objectives. And other things you can just go through and read, and you can get a basic understanding. You have to read other parts also, but at the same time you may please give more importance to the things that is given in your syllabus. And in the next class, we are going to see about the Lucknow Pact. And the same chapter we will see about the Home Rule Movement. Their Home Rule Movement is not in our syllabus, but at the same time you have to go through and you have to read the Home Rule Movement. Then only you will get a connection with your entire history part. But you have to, at the same time, you have to give more importance to the Lucknow Pact and its objectives and its significance. So in that way you have to study. Don't study and by heart everything, but you may just follow your syllabus and study according to that. You may please follow your syllabus and thorough with your syllabus. Whatever things given there in your syllabus that you have to study, and other things for your better understanding you may please go through. Today we are going to see chapter 7 from modern Indian history. You may please take page number 139. Chapter 7, the national movement during the First World War. In this chapter, you have to study the Lucknow Pact, the factors leading to the Lucknow Pact, and more important is significance of Lucknow Pact. The dates are very important here. That means the date about the Lucknow Pact. So this chapter we are going to see mainly about the factors leading to the Lucknow Pact and the significance of the Lucknow Pact. And in the same chapter we will see about the Home Rule Leagues and August Declaration that you can read by yourself. And as you know, when we discussed contemporary world history, in the first chapter we had seen about the First World War. And it broke out in 1914, and India was standing with the British because India was the colony of British, and India gave support to the British military force. Why? Because Indian leaders, they extended their support in the war with men and money in the hope that the British government would sympathetically consider their demand for self-government. So that during the war, the First World War, Indians gave support to British with money and men. And the reason for that one, British may sympathetically consider their demand for self-government for Indians. At the same time, there were many international events took place, and the release of Tilak was there. And in such conditions, Muslims also turned against the British. Earlier in the last chapter we had seen, in the chapter 6 we had seen that Muslim League the formation of Muslim League, and the Muslims were against the Indian National Congress and the movement. And here we will see there is an alliance made between Muslim League and the Indian National Congress. Earlier, they were separated. Muslim League and Indian National Congress were separated, and in a way, Muslim League it was supporting British government and British rule. But because of certain international events took place during the First World War, Muslims turned against the British and they came back to Indian National Congress. And here, in such a kind of background, the Congress and the League met at Lucknow in December 1916, and an alliance known as the Lucknow Pact was concluded between these two parties, between Muslim League and the Indian National Congress. That is the Lucknow Pact, and you have to remember the date also. Now we will see the factors leading to the Lucknow Pact in detail. First one, changes in the objectives of the Muslim League. The Muslim League in 1913 started demanding self-government for India within the framework of the British rule. Earlier, the League tried to promote the feeling of loyalty towards the British government among the Indian Muslims, but now it agreed with the Congress regarding the political goal of India. Thus, the unity of purpose and objective brought the two parties closer to each other. And that we have seen during the formation of Muslim League. The Muslim League, it was very loyal towards the British government and British rule, and they wanted a self-government for India within the framework of British rule. But the objective of Indian National Congress or the assertive nationalists were to self-government by Indians, Swaraj. That was the motive of the Indian National Congress, but the motive and the objective of the Muslim League was self-government for India within the framework of the British rule. And that was the concept during the formation of Muslim League, but later the Muslims and the Muslim League agreed with the Congress regarding the political goal of India. And what was the political goal of Congress? It was Swaraj, ruled by Indians. And the unity of purpose and objectives brought the two parties closer to each other. Earlier, the objectives and the purpose was different, but now the objectives and the purpose became same. So the changes in the objective of the Muslim League led to the Lucknow Pact. The second point, it is the international events. During the First World War, Turkey fought against Britain. And Turkey was a Muslim country, and the head of Turkey, Khalifa, he was the religious head of the Muslims, and Muslims felt humiliated, and all the Muslims living in the world felt that they should support and help the Khalifa, because already Turkey started to fight against the British. So the Muslims living in the world, they thought of supporting Turkey and the Khalifa. Why? Because he is the religious head of all the Muslims. But in the Indian society, what was the conditions? Muslims were so loyal to the British people. But now, because of these changes that took place internationally, the attitude towards Muslim, towards British also changed, and Ali brothers started spreading anti-British feeling among the Indian Muslims. Why? Because even the religious head of Muslims, he is fighting against the British, and in order to extend a support and help to Khalifa, Ali brothers promoted anti-British feeling among the Indian Muslims. And the change in the attitude of the Muslim towards the British paved the way for a joint meeting. Change in the attitude of the Muslim towards the British. What is the change here? Earlier, Muslims or the Muslim League, they were so loyal to the British government and the British rule, but once the Britain started to attack their religious leader and Turkey, then they felt that they should turn against British. So there is a change in the attitude of the Muslim towards the British, and it also led to the joint meeting of both the parties at Lucknow. Third one, it is compromise between the two factions of the Congress. Two factions of the Congress that you know, the early Indian nationalist and the assertive nationalist, and their ideologies and objectives were totally different. So in that context, Ms. Annie Besant tried to unite the two wings of the Congress, early nationalist and the assertive nationalist. And by that time, Tilak also joined in the Congress, and played an important role in settling the differences between the Congress and the League. Already there was a separate groups in Congress. First, they united. Then after that, Tilak joined with the Congress and he played a great role in uniting Congress and Muslim League. Fourth point, it is settlement between the Congress and the League. There were so many liberal leaders in Muslim League and they wanted to join hands with the Congress. And such a kind of attitude brought the Congress and the League nearer to each other. And other leaders like Tilak, Jinnah and Dr. Ansari took the initiative to bring the Congress and the League to reach at an agreement on the scheme of political reforms in India. The leaders like Tilak, Jinnah and Dr. Ansari, they worked very hard to unite Muslim League and Congress and to reach an agreement on the scheme of political reforms in India. Importance of the 1916 Lucknow session. Later we will see about the significance of the pact. So now we will just go through the importance. In December 1916, the Congress and the League met at Lucknow where they held their annual session. And a joint scheme of reforms known as Lucknow Pact was discussed at Lucknow. A joint scheme of reforms. What should be done for India, the political reforms in India, it was discussed at Lucknow. The joint scheme of post-war constitutional reforms was passed by Congress and the League in 1916. That was the importance of Lucknow session. And now we will see about the main features of the Lucknow Pact. The next point, it is main features of the Lucknow Pact. First one, autonomy of the provinces. Provinces should be given autonomy in their respective fields. The central government should not unnecessarily interfere in provincial matters. That means the provinces should get autonomy or free will or freedom in their respective fields. And the central government should not unnecessarily interfere in provincial matters, and it was the responsibility of each provinces to take in charge and take responsibility and not the duty of the central government. And the second one, abolition of the India Council. The India Council of the Secretary of State operating from England should be abolished. We have seen about the formation of India Council, and Lucknow Pact demanded for the abolishment of the India Council which was operating from England. Third one, provincial legislature. 4/5 of the members of the provincial legislatures were to be elected and 1/5 nominated. That means out of 5, 4 must be elected and 1 must be nominated. And for the Muslims, the Muslim members was laid down provinces by province, the number of Muslim. According to the province, they can demand for the number of Muslim members. And the Muslims were to be elected through separate electorates. That means for the Muslims, there should be a separate electorates. And the fourth one, Imperial Legislative Council. The Imperial Legislative Council was to include 150 members. Out of these, 4/5 was to be elected and 1/5 nominated. 1/3 of the elected members were to be Muslims. The same rule. Out of 5, at least 4 must be elected and 1 must be nominated. Out of 4/5 was to be elected and 1/5 nominated, and 1/3 of the elected members must be Muslims. Fifth one, powers of the imperial legislature. Matters like defense, foreign affairs and political relations of India were to be excluded from the control of the imperial legislatures. From the imperial legislature, the matters related to the Indian defense, foreign affairs and political relations, that must be excluded from the imperial legislature. That means from the British rule. Separation of the judiciary from the executive. Executive officers should not be entrusted with the judicial powers. It should be treated separately. Executive power and judiciary must be treated separately. Viceroy's Executive Council. Half of the members of the Viceroy's Executive Council should be Indians. Earlier, British majority was more. So, here, after the Lucknow Pact, they demanded for half of the members of the Viceroy's Executive Council should be Indians. And the last one, safeguarding the religious interest. No bill could be introduced in the Legislative Council if it affected the interest of any community, and such a bill could not be passed if it was opposed by 3/4 of that community. So, if any bill which was introduced against the religious interest or the community interest, then it cannot be passed. And if such a kind of opposition is there, that means if the majority are opposing such a kind of bill, then it could not be passed. So that is enough for today, and we will discuss the rest of the chapter in the next class. Today we saw about the Lucknow Pact and factors leading to the Lucknow Pact and main features of the Lucknow Pact. So during the time of First World War, there were many incidents took place, and because of that, Congress and League met at Lucknow in December 1916, and alliance known as the Lucknow Pact was concluded. So that was the formation of the Lucknow Pact, and we had seen different factors and the features of the Lucknow Pact, and about the failure of the Lucknow Pact or the drawbacks of the Lucknow Pact and the significance of the Pact we will see in the next class.